I gotta tell you, this is like the strangest feeling. First of all, I love Michigan. I absolutely love this state. What history. Such a great part of America. But being here today at a drive-in actually brings back a lot of memories. It's weird talking to the cars. My kids would say it's like the cartoon, you know, from Disney. I feel like I'm just talking to cars. I know you're all in there, but I can't really see you. When I got here, I thought to myself about the times when I was little and my dad would drive me and my brother to the drive-in theater, and we would wait for a movie to play, and how much we loved being with our mom and dad, even when we didn't have a lot of money. And even when my dad was laid off from Lockheed Martin, a tough time for us, he would find a way to take us to a drive-in. They would sneak some food in the car and give my brother and I a night with the family that lived with me until this day. It's a little tiny piece of the American dream. And it's a small part of what we're fighting for here today in this election 2020. You know, I'm an investigative journalist, and I covered stories ranging from my time on the U.S.-Mexico border, crossing into Mexico and covering both sides of the border, not just the United States and what we were dealing with at the very beginning of my career, but also in Mexico and going into very dangerous places like Nuevo Laredo or Sasabe and trying to see what the national security implications were for our country. After I did that, I went to Afghanistan and Pakistan. I worked as a Pentagon correspondent for the Washington Times, later for the Washington Examiner, as a columnist, and later on my own as a freelance writer for USA Today, U.S. News World Report, I wrote Sheva in Israel, and then for Fox News, where I broke a number of stories on the Russia hoax. Yeah. Well, let's look at what's happening today, folks. Yeah, with the Russia hoax investigation and what happened to President Donald Trump and then campaign, you know, during the campaign in 2016, candidate Donald Trump. What we've seen in our nation is probably one of the worst crimes in modern political history against a president of these United States. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, people should know. But unfortunately, our voices are being silenced. The Department of Justice hasn't done anything as of yet. We have evidence that keeps pouring out day after day after day, and nothing is being done. And I know that many of you are frustrated. I read your emails. I was reading all of your responses on Twitter until today. Because today, before Twitter went down, believe it or not, I decided to Twex it. And I give that to Matthew Whitaker, the AG. Yeah, he came up with it, the hashtag Twexit, because I was getting off the plane and I was so sick and tired of what Twitter was doing and Jack Dorsey was doing, and then even with Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg silencing our voices and trying to stop information flow to the American people, particularly the stories coming out of the New York Post right now about Hunter Biden and the alleged corruption in the Biden family. And the fact that they wanted it to, they actually didn't want you to know about it, that they blocked all those stories and then blocked campaign officials, that including Donald Trump's campaign officials' accounts and others, and Kayleigh McEnany, a friend of mine. So I said, you know what, I don't really need this anymore. We don't really need this anymore. We've been told that we need all these social media platforms. Some people said, Sarah, please don't leave Twitter. Not right now. We're in a battle. This is a battlefield. No, Twitter is not the battlefield. Neither is Instagram or Facebook. The battlefield is here in America. It's on our land. It's right here in Michigan. It's across these United States. It's in the Midwest. It's in Idaho. It's in Pennsylvania. It's in Baltimore. That's where the battlefield is. We've forgotten, and especially now because of COVID, and I'm thinking about this, and I was thinking about this on the flight out here. We're actually forgetting how to communicate with one another. We spend the majority of our time, that's why I'm so grateful to see so many cars here and so many people here, right? Thank you so much, yeah. Yeah, thank you so much. This makes me so proud to be an American. I don't care if your governor's a Democrat. Who cares? Boo! Governor Whitmer. She shows us what we don't want. She's an example of what we don't want. You know, what I care about in my heart is that our nation fights for those fundamental principles that have made us so great. That's what I care about. I care about each one of us learning to find a way to communicate once again, whether we're Democrat or Republican, whether we're a Green Party member or an independent, I don't care. We need to find a way to communicate again. And people like @Jack Dorsey, I call him @Jack because that's the only way I know him. I don't know him personally. People like Jack Dorsey, Facebook, what's happening right now in our nation, the fact that so many of our voices are being silenced, the fact that we see our nation falling apart, riots in some of our major urban cities, and the fact that the Democratic Party could really care less about the people that are dying in our urban cities and our children is the reason why I'm standing here today. And I'm fighting. Thank you. And I'm not fighting in the streets. We're not going to riot. We're going to do what's right. Our founding fathers established a nation that is so principled and so brilliant that we can make those changes if we just get off the couch and talk to one another. If we go to the battleground, which is our nation, which is our states, not inside Twitter, not inside Instagram, not inside Facebook. We get out of our phones for a little bit. We talk to our neighbors. We talk to one another. We go to the polls. We vote. And that is how we win. Because believe me, this is the biggest battle we have ever been in, folks. In Washington, D.C., that swamp is filled with people that are willing to fight for everything to remain in power. They believe they deserve it. They don't think of you or me as worthy enough. They believe that we're deplorables. They really do. And it's not just the Democrats, right? It's not just the Democrats or Hillary Clinton. It's actually Republicans too. We need to send a message to Washington and tell them that they work for us. Just like we need to send a message to Twitter, Facebook, and all of the social media platforms that we're the American people. We have First Amendment rights. You have no right to silence us. We actually control your platform because if we walk away, guess what? You don't have anything. We just have to remember who we are. We have to remember that we're Americans, and we have to get out there and vote in November. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of this great night in Michigan. Thank you for everything, folks.